They certainly could. In fact, we're right at the Weather Service office. Ken Cook, who is the Science and Operations Officer, is out here. He's been here all afternoon watching things fire up. We've got the radar. Jim Cantori. Jim, we can bring you in to talk about why the sirens went off here in Wichita, because the cell over in Kingman, Reno County, is clipping the far northwestern part of this county.
That's right. Sedgwick County has one of the alarm systems, Mike, where they're either all on or they're all off. So if the storm just clips Sedgwick County and we issue a warning for Sedgwick County, then the storm...
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
Alarms and all the sirens in Sedgwick County to go off.
Okay, now let's talk about the cell up in McPherson County. We had a report of touchdown, and we just heard from 911 through our desk that there was no damage.
That's right. Earlier this afternoon, we issued a warning, and I'd say there's a really good rotation issue with that storm, and we did get a report of a tornado on the ground from the emergency management there, but we don't have any reports of damage at this time.
And what about the cell coming in from Barber County? Jim's talking about that possibly getting into Wichita.
Yeah, that storm also, they've also issued tornado warnings with that storm. Not sure if there's been any reported tornadoes with it yet, but it is showing some really good indications that it could be tornadic, if not now, in the near future. Okay,
Ken, let's bring in Jim Cantori. Jim, you're out here, you're back there, we're out here. Give us your insight here on these storms that are lining up ahead of this front.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna take you off the monitor here, and I'm gonna show everybody, and then I'm gonna ask Ken a question here about let's talk about the difference between the other night in Wichita, where, for goodness sake, Mike, you almost needed a winter coat, and tonight, where we have tons of heat and humidity, right?
Yeah, well, I was telling Ken, when I got in here early on Monday afternoon, the temperatures are in the mid-50s.
That's right.
And even the guy at the rental car counter said, well, we're not going to have tornadoes like this, with weather like this.
That's right. On Monday, we were fighting all day with low clouds, trying to get rid of that so we could get the conditions necessary for the atmosphere to be very favorable for tornadoes. Today, we do have that moisture and warm air in place. The upper levels of the atmosphere aren't necessarily as conducive for tornadic development, for explosive development, for tornadoes as we were on Monday, but nonetheless, we are still very favorable for tornadoes, just not the very large, long-lived ones that we saw, like in Oklahoma today. Shouldn't be that bad of a day, but we still could have some significant tornadoes.
And the other difference, Jim, too, is the fact that the warm, humid, unstable air mass on Monday was very limited. Now we've got it over about 5 states.
That's right. That's right.
That's a big difference. Jim, we're going to be out here through the afternoon, evening, and we'll watch those storms as they approach here, the Wichita Airport and the Weather Service, and we'll stay with Ken here through the afternoon and into the evening hours.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate that very much. Let's switch gears a little bit, and before I bring in Mike Bettis, who's with some storm chasers this evening, I want to tell you we've pretty much got tornado warnings now from north central parts of Kansas.
The region we're watching, the Central Plains, that's where we find our very own Mike Seidel. He's at the National Weather Service office in Wichita, Kansas, where just to the north and west of the city we have very dangerous thunderstorms. Mike.
Hey, Vivian and Nick, also joined here by Ken Cook, who is the Science and Operations Officer here at the Weather Service Forecasting office here in Wichita. He just came off his shift. He's hanging around for us. And first, we want to show you the wind and how this surface wind is howling right now. But the difference, Ken, versus Monday is the component's more southerly, parallel to the front. When I came in here the other day, it's a southeast wind, so we don't have the shear, the directional shear, which is more conducive to twisters and tornadoes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. On Monday, we had an environment that was very favorable. We had a lot of southeast winds at the surface and a lot of air moving along in the stream aloft that's coming out of the west and southwest. So you have a lot of turning with wind with height, which is very favorable for tornadoes. In today's environment, it's more of the same direction. We don't have the surface winds backed, is what we call. So now they're more veered, so they're more out of the south instead of the southeast, just like you said.
And something else we're noticing now on the radar is the fact that the cells are becoming more of a line, which would indicate that the tornado threat is lessening at least somewhat, but the straight line wind damage threat may be ramping up.
That's right. As this line develops, we're going to move more toward a straight line wind threat. Still have a large hail threat, but even that will decrease in the line. And because they're moving over the same locations, we can't overlook the flooding threat as well. So some people need to prepare for that as well.
Okay, let's bring in our storm tracker, Jim Cantori. Jim, pick it up from where we are as far as the current warnings out there. I know there's still some tornado warnings, but we also heard around the Attica area, you mentioned that's a severe thunderstorm warning, indications that the rotation is lessening with these cells.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike, and what I'm going to do is actually move my my radar here just a little bit to talk about, because I'm looking at this stuff in Southern Virginia right now, which has had a history of damaging winds. But let's pick up right where Mike and Ken were talking about here with the radar guys. You can see it where the storms are just lining up one right after the other, and I think that's polluting things a little bit, which is a good thing. That's what What are you seeing? I mean, are skies threatening rapidly, or is it moving toward you at a pretty, I mean, 20 miles an hour or so?
Well, let's stand out of the way. We'll give you a pan, step out of the way of the camera, Ken, and take a look at the skies. Now, right now, we're looking off to the north and the west, and it's dark there. It's dark off to the west.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for your area.
Actually have four of them over there on the tee, so we've got golfers that are out there. We have seen no lightning. We've heard no thunder. Have you, Ken?
No, I think most of the storms are still on that line to the west of us. The line's gradually moving slowly to the east. And I think right now we're really not under that great of a threat. I think the threat is only just a little bit further to the west here, but eventually the line will move east.
Yeah, Jim, eventually we're going to get stormed on here, but we're thinking now, hopefully, that it will be the straight line kind of wind from the downdrafts or some kind of microburst and not from a tornado. We've had enough of that in this area.
That's right.
For the season, certainly on Monday. So that's it's cloudy out, Jim. It's warm, it's muggy, it's windy, but right now it's not even raining. Okay, Ken will stick around with the Weather Service here in Wichita. We'll stick around along with Storm Tracker Jim Cantori. We'll cover the severe weather from the Midwest to the plains throughout this evening. Stay with us here.
Thunderstorms off toward your west still could have a lot of gusty winds with them. It looks like you haven't seen any evidence of that in town just yet, but it may only be a matter of time. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. We just got a report of an 88-mile-an-hour wind gust.
88-mile-an-hour wind gust, 5 south of Goddard, which is about 5 miles due west of here.
Okay, so we just got near Goddard, 80-mile-an-hour wind gust. That's about 5 miles west of here.
That's right.
So that's not very far. We can see the sky over our shoulders is very dark and ominous.
That's right, and we just saw from what we were looking at on radar that, like we just said before in the last segment, that the storms are transitioning more from a tornado threat to more of a straight line wind, and the hail threat is coming down a little bit with that. So that, and now since they're training over the same area, it's also becoming a flooding threat. So.
Well, we also noticed the line is not bowing out, but even without a bow echo, where you have where the radar is kind of like this, and you look at the bow for the strongest winds, we're still getting wind gusts measured in Norwich at 80 miles an hour. That can do some damage.
Yes, that's right. You could definitely have embedded storms that produce that type of wind, and you can also get some kind of wind damage from those type of storms that can damage trees and even houses. So.
Okay, Ken Cook here with the National Weather Service, Wichita Forecast Office. We're going to sit tight. We'll stay outdoors as long as we can. Afterwards, we'll go indoors and show you what they're doing inside to get the warnings out. Your local forecast
measured at 81 miles an hour off to your west, but while you only maybe 2 or 3 miles from where that wind was measured, you hardly got anything at all.
Yeah, we got a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust, so we were lucky. We thought we were going to have to put the dish down and head for the hills. It came across from the south and west, and now what we're looking at is across Mid-Continent Airport here in Wichita, and with me is Chance Hayes, who's the Warning Coordination Meteorologist.
Right.
What we've seen, as Jim mentioned, the selves have split. Where we are in that split area. It's not even raining, but looking off to the north and east over the airport runways, we are seeing a very threatening sky.
Oh, absolutely. Those storms just moved just to the north of us, about a mile and a half. We had 50 to 60-mile-an-hour winds. And it's a good thing that it went to the north, because we have a big river festival ongoing right now in the city of Wichita, which we could have had thousands of people out in downtown Wichita. So it's a very good thing that it did split and move to the north of the city.
And we're seeing everything kind of line out at this point, so certainly our tornado threat has diminished quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. We're starting to get into linear storms, which is going to be squall lines, which is very indicative of the strong straight line winds. But Wichita is not out of the clear yet, as we have another storm still to our southwest, and we could still see some good winds with that storm as well.
And what about these counties to the north of Sedgwick?
Harvey County and into McPherson County, also into Marion counties. We've had some warnings issued for those, and we've had some pretty significant wind gusts there as well. And we've also had some 1 inch, maybe up to 1.5 inch size hailstones reported.
So there you go, Jim. Everything just kind of went around us. It split off. We just dodged those strong winds. Nonetheless, we had a gust of 40 miles an hour. That's nothing, you know.
Oh, that's correct. But, you know, we've had 40-mile-an-hour winds on clear days here in Kansas.
Well, I know how it is out here. Yeah, and I know how it is out here in the winter. The wind doesn't stop blowing. So, Jim, so far we're fortunate here on the southwest side of the city, but as Chance mentioned, north of town, a lot of heavy rain, and the winds, one of your co-workers estimated winds just up the road, a mile and a half up the road, about 50 miles an hour.
He estimated 50-mile-an-hour winds about a mile away.
So there you go. It's just a matter of a few miles in a situation like tonight. Makes a difference between potential wind damage and, you know, hardly anything.
And Mike, how far are you from Goddard exactly?
We're approximately about 6 to 7 miles to the east of Goddard, Kansas. So we're very close in proximity.
So